folks, welcome to Week in Review. This is a show on our channel where we take a look at all the games we reviewed the previous week and give you short clips of whether we thought they were good or not and give you a quick rating on them. And then if you want to know more, you can check out the full review for those. So without further ado, let's get started.
Hey folks, welcome back to another Week in Review. This week I was able to take care of 3 reviews for you. The first one was Lost Patrol, Death in the Jungle. It's either a new game or it's a reprint of an older game. I think it's the latter of from Games Workshop, where one player takes a squad of scouts through the jungle trying to find their drop ship to then escape off the planet. Sounds easy, really isn't, because there's a bunch of gene stealers trying to keep them from reaching that drop ship, and the game seems very heavily weighted in the gene stealers' favor. Next, I was able to do another game called Slaughterville from Rubio Games, and it's a kind of a horror themed smash up of all of these different kinds of horror movies that you've seen, you know, slasher movies, zombie movies, werewolf movies, and there's a bunch of different scenarios that come in the box. It's a scenario driven cooperative game where players are trying to defeat the bad guy in that specific scenario. Sometimes you'll be fighting a bunch of cannibal rednecks, other times you'll be fighting a werewolf, and other times you'll be fighting a slasher or a serial killer. It's a neat idea that was kind of rough on the edges with the mechanisms used. And then I was finally able to do a video for Stand and Deliver from Darkblade Creations. It is a simultaneous action selection game that then throws in the prisoner dilemma, because you're all highwaymen trying to rob different coaches in colonial England. Colonial era England, and basically, if two people or two or more people go to the same coach to rob that coach, then there's a duel, and that's where the prisoner's dilemma comes in, because you can either shoot the other person, decide to share with the other person, or you just run away and count your losses and so forth and so on. Whoever has the most gold at the end of the game wins. But go ahead and check out that review, see what you think there, and that's all I had for you. There'll be another Battling Brushes this coming week. Hey. See you on the flip side.
Hey folks, Z Garcia here. This week I reviewed 4 games. I reviewed Legacy, The Testament of Duke de Crecy, 5 Families. This is an expansion for the base game. Adds a few different modules, the main big one being 5 Families here. And it kicks up the interaction between the players, does so in a neat way. I like everything that was included in this one. It's not, the original game is not something that I was wowed by, but I gotta give it props for this expansion. Very well done. My main issue, though, is that it does add quite a bit of time. I mean, you're looking at a solid extra half hour or so if you play with this expansion. Is that worth it? I don't know, but it really does add a good amount of stuff. Okay, next up I did an expansion for Council of Verona called Corruption, which is just a little deck of cards like that. And these are really neat because they give you some new powers that the micro game didn't include. And since it is a micro game, a lot of plays could get stale. I think Corruption here really breaks that up in an interesting way, allowing you to take new and varied actions that you start with, start with them from the beginning of the game, and you can play them to mess people up or help yourself. And so they worked really well. I also reviewed Siggil. Siggil here is a simple set collection game that I really liked. A lot of very pretty artwork, a couple of small production issues with color differentiation and number differentiation, but nothing too bad. Certainly just a minor quibble. I think the gameplay and the interesting look of the game, which you set up, it kind of looks like Mahjong, the computer game, set up on the table. I think the look and the gameplay are both neat and quick, and I really enjoyed this very much. And then finally, Factory Funner. Ooh, it's a heavy box. Factory Funner here being a sequel to Factory Fun, which is one of my favorite games really of all time, and this one is no exception. This is an amazing follow-up to that. Doesn't necessarily replace Factory Fun. It's more of a sideways step where this one uses hexagons instead of squares, and it cleans up a couple of the rules from the original. So thumbs up through the roof for this one. I really enjoy, but I understand it's not a game for everyone. So check out the review first. This is not necessarily a blind buy for everybody. Check that one out. And that's it for me. I will see you next time.
Hi everyone, we're Meeple Talk, and this week we reviewed Cacao by Z-Man Games.
It is a tile placing game where you have cocoa farmers gathering the cocoa, selling, and also surrounding temple areas to earn victory points that way. So it's a race to the end to get the most coins. This game, it's a fun filler game. I would definitely give it an 8 out of 10.
I would give it a 7.5.
Yep, give it a try. Thanks for watching.
Hey, Andre here from Talkers Reviews. This week I made a review of a very heavy game. Let's see. Oh, it's heavy! It's Star Wars Rebellion! Oh, this is an extraordinary good game for 2 players. It's spoiler, I love it. Check out my review. It's, it will blow your mind. This game is so awesome. Okay, thanks.
First, we'll start out with the Captain America Civil War movie. It's a 9 out of 10 from me. Okay, sorry. I'll stick with games. But man, was that fun or what? All right, we'll start with Shadows over Westminster. This game was a really cool idea, a cooperative game where you're working together to stop a cataclysm from taking place, but it's just not really that good of a game. The theme is cooler. Game mechanisms are kind of blah. Flip City Reuse is a small expansion for Flip City with 2 new sets of cards. I really did enjoy it. Adds a little bit to the game, but again, it adds a little bit to the game. Safe Breaker is a logic game that I find okay, but with kids it's really good as players are trying to guess a color number combination from each other with some really cool magnetic pieces. Jason and I took a look at Road to the White House. This game has not aged really well. There's some chunks of lunk. It definitely needs to be streamlined and brought to modern times to some degree. But if you ever want to see the political process of a primary, which seems to be happening right now, this game has it in it. I also took a look at a dual deck of Magic, Blessed vs. Cursed. I think it's very good. They're really cool to fight against each other with these, although the Blessed deck in particular is more for advanced players, not necessarily beginners. Valeria Card Kingdoms is a game that's essentially a sequel to Machikoro. It's a different company, but it's a game where you roll dice and get resources. Very fun and entertaining. I liked it, but did not love it because I thought that you just got so much stuff over the course of the game that there almost was not nearly enough tension. You just got stuff all the time, but still fun. Rockwell is a game about digging to the center of the earth, a worker placement / area control maybe game as you go down in the rock levels and try to get resources, then you trade those resources in for points. Super entertaining. Histrio is a game about putting on a play. It's a simultaneous selection game where players are going to be sending out different ships to opportunities to get actors and acrobats in their troupe to put on a great comedy or tragedy. The problem, the king only wants a comedy or tragedy, and he changes his mind a lot over the course of the game. I also took a look at the Priestess and Warlock expansions for Mage Wars Academy. The Priestess and Warlock already existed for Mage Wars. These are updated versions of them, new kinds. You can use them in both games with lots more cards in them. So if you're looking for that. Exodus Edge of Extinction. This is an expansion for Exodus Proxima Centauri, which is just an amazingly cool take over the universe, space type game. This adds asymmetrical sides. Loved it. And Junk Art from Pretzel Games. This is the sequel to Flick 'em Up. I'll tell you what, every time I show people Junk Art, they're like, I don't know, it looks like kind of a stacking game. I'm telling you folks, this is one of the best dexterity games I've played in a long time. It's better than it looks. The pieces really work well together. It definitely was added to my collection. It plays in different ways. Very impressed with this one. All right, we also did a whole bunch of other things last week. I talked about my top 10 games to start with the letter R, to start with the letter S. There was a board game blender, a back talk, and other reviewers put things out on our channel. And more will be coming out this week. Thanks for watching Week in Review. Until next time, I'm Tom Basso, and this has been The Dice Tower.